Alright! Our next adventure awaits us, so there's no time to waste! Yeah! We're Sonic Heroes!
What goes up must come down.
I see no, hear no evil. Black writings on the wall. Unleash a million faces, and one by one they fall. Black-hearted evil, brave-hearted hero. I am all I am, all I am. I am. Here we go, buddy, here we go, buddy, here we go, buddy, here we go. Go ahead and try to see through me. Do it if you dare. One step forward, 2 steps back. Ow. 2 steps back. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Can you see all me? Walk into my mystery. Step inside and hold on for dear life. Do you remember me? Capture you or set you free. I am all of me. I am all of me. I'm all of me. I'm all of me. I'm all of me. Here we go. Here we go. I am all of me. Oh man, I am not looking forward to this. Why am I even reviewing this game? I was supposed to be looking at the main series Sonic games.
Because I told you to review it.
What? Oh, it's you. What are you doing?
What, nothing.
Have you been drinking?
Yeah, I kind of have been.
Why?
Well, I mean, finding out my existence is kind of pointless and all. Anyways, you have to review this game to fill in for the second episode of Sonic 4, since you hate that game and you don't want to review it. Plus, Shadow the Hedgehog was the first Sonic game you played.
Actually, it was the second.
What?
Yeah, I found out Sonic 3D Blast was my first Sonic game way before you showed up, so you're making me review this dull video game for almost no deservable reason. This game's about as special as you are. Which is not at all.
So, you're not going to review the game then?
No, I'm still reviewing the game, mainly because I never want to turn back to it ever.
Oh, so are you just gonna toss it in the garbage at the end or something?
Well, actually, that thought never occurred to me. Good idea! That is the only piece of useful advice I think you've ever given me.
Thanks?
I still hate you for making me review this game. Fuck you. Okay, so after the release of Sonic Heroes in late December 2003 and early January 2004 for everyone else, Sega put out a poll on what character in Sonic Heroes would get their own spin-off game. All of the fans voted for Shadow, and Sega was well aware that he'd be the winning character, especially since Shadow gained a strong following, and fans begged for him to come back even though he died in Sonic Adventure 2. With such huge appeal towards this character, Sega actually started developing his spin-off game before the poll was even made. According to a few fans, most notably Stephen Page of Bellina Productions, the Shadow game was first showed off at E3 2004. I can't really find any footage that proves this, but Steve claims he saw some off-camera footage of the game that was posted on the long-running Sonic Cult website. I checked the website, but I couldn't find the video that Stephen was talking about. According to several websites, the game's first trailer was shown in March of 2005. So if the footage that Steve was talking about did exist, then it was probably a behind closed doors type of thing, and Sega must have filed a DMCA takedown notice on the website, thus the supposed footage never being able to be seen again. So while Sonic was being integrated into the 2005 Walk a Game event, Sega decided to show off the first trailer for Shadow the Hedgehog, and What the fuck was that? You are a villain, you decide. What the hell does that mean? That wasn't the type of character Shadow was shown to be, especially in Heroes. He's at most an anti-hero, right? What is this? Why does Shadow have a gun? Why is Shadow suspiciously not saying anything during this trailer? What is going on? Why does this even exist? Who asked for the game to be like this? I know this was revealed in March, but was this some sort of early April Fool's joke? This is the Shadow game we were all promised? Really? So many lost signals for this game just from the first trailer. Seriously, what the hell is this? Well, fans wouldn't figure out just what this game was until it was released the following year in November. Oh fuck, just look at the cover art. What have I gotten myself into? Well, even before the intro, you get a pretty clear idea on what this game is going to be like. Oh boy, so let's start the campaign. By the way, you hear gun clicks and gunshots all throughout the main menus. Classy. So the plot of this game obviously revolves around Shadow, who...
Shadow the Hedgehog. Why does that name haunt me?
You're not David Humphrey.
Hey, Shadow. Long time no see.
Wait! You're not Ryan Drummond!
Hey, Shadow! You saw him too, didn't you?
Dan Green! Wait. Yeah, this is the first thing I'd like to point out. Shadow the Hedgehog was the first game in the series to feature a new set of voice actors. Why? Well, the answer is very, very obnoxious. So around the time Sonic Heroes was released, an animation studio based in Japan called TMS Entertainment decided to make a series based off the games to be released in March of 2003. The anime went under the title Sonic X, which received some pretty mixed reactions from fans. The Japanese version of Sonic X was much darker and took itself a little too seriously. It also pretty infamously changed all the characters' personalities in order to fit the worlds that they were put in. And it had swearing.
パンチが全然当たらない。
なんだあいつは。
なんで俺たちがこんなこと覚えなきゃならないんだ?
Yeah. For me, I don't care for Sonic X. I can never get into watching it, and I just wasn't a fan of how they altered each character's personalities. The world was boring, and a lot of the time they were just reusing stories from SA1 and SA2. And to be honest, the games told those stories better. While Sonic X wasn't all that great for me in Japan, what made the show even worse was when it was brought to America. The original Japanese version of Sonic X actually used the Japanese voice actors that were voicing Sonic and Company in the actual games. It was pretty neat and rather consistent. So you'd assume that once the anime was brought to the US that they'd use Ryan Drummond along with the others to provide voiceover for the English dub. Now, this could have happened. This didn't happen, but it could have happened. Why didn't it happen? Well, in the early 2000s, an infamous kid-friendly company was taking over the market of translating foreign cartoons to be more kid-friendly. This company went under the name 4Kids. Oh, 4Kids, with their stupid One Piece rap, them not bringing back the original Ninja Turtle actors for the Turtles Forever special, and of course, they were the ones responsible for the English dub of Sonic X. Apparently, 4Kids didn't even bother contacting Sega about using the voice actors they were currently using for the games, so instead they decided to use their in-house voice actors. This included Jason Griffith, Mike Pollitt, Lisa Ortiz, Dan Green, and so on. Apparently, it didn't even matter if these actors could do a good impression of the video game actors because all of them are terrible. They barely sound like the original voice actors. They sound needlessly different and come off as cheap replacements that 4Kids could conveniently use. Oh wait, they were. I just can't get into Sonic X. The Japanese version is boring and the English dub is just ridiculous. The 4Kids actors just don't sound natural at all and none of their voices fit the characters in the same way the original voice actors did. No, not even Mike Pollock. I know a lot of people love him, but his Eggman voice just never stuck with me. Maybe when I was younger and I was still going along with what everyone else was saying, and then I'd probably still on the board that he's the best Eggman voice ever. But now that I'm older and I could usually think for myself, I'm just not a fan of Mike Pollock's take on Eggman. Sorry. I actually wouldn't have been bothered by the 4Kids cast if Sonic X was the only thing they did the voices for. In fact, When Sonic X aired in late 2003 and the 4Kids actors were taking over, a lot of fans were actually infuriated that 4Kids didn't use the video game voice actors. Ryan Drummond was also upset about this, and even contacted 4Kids about why they didn't use him or anyone else for the English dub. 4Kids' response said that they couldn't use him because he didn't live in New York, which was where 4Kids' headquarters was based. Drummond stated he would have relocated to New York just for Sonic X, but by that point, it was too late. Way too late. Along with the fans, Sega was bothered by how the Sonic X dub used voice actors who sounded nothing like the voice actors they were already using. So they decided to pass a rule that Sonic, along with every other character, should sound exactly the same in both the anime and in the games. So what did they do? Did they take Sonic X away from 4Kids and maybe give it to, say, Funimation, who probably would have gladly used Ryan Drummond and everyone else for the English dub? Then 4Kids could, I don't know, fuck off? No. First off, did you even look at the cover of Shadow the Hedgehog? There's no way Sega would have made a smart move like that. You're giving them way too much credit. So, in one of the worst decision-making moments Sega ever made as a company, they decided to switch to using the 4Kids actors instead of taking Sonic X away from 4Kids altogether. So, Ryan Drummond, Scott Dreyer, Dean Bristow, David Humphrey, and everyone else were no longer the voices for the Sonic franchise. And sadly, it's been that way for over a decade now. Pretty unfortunate timing too, because just after Sega decided to get rid of everyone else and use the 4Kids actors, the original voice for Dr. Eggman, Dean Bristow, unfortunately died of a heart attack in January 2005. This sparked up rumors that the main reason Sega swapped voice actors was because Bristow died, but Mike Pollock stated that Sega made the decision just before Dean Bristow passed away, making all of this very ill timing. It's very tragic because I loved Dean Bristow's Eggman voice. He knew how to be both funny and intimidating. He was always a joy to listen to as Eggman, even in Adventure 1. He just gave the role so much character and dignity that it just makes me sad that he's been gone for 11 years now. My favorite Eggman voice, and I'll never get to hear him again, and that still saddens me to this very day. Rest in peace, Mr. Bristow. You remember when I mentioned how Stephen Page claims to have seen some off-camera footage of Shadow the Hedgehog at E3 2004 on Sonic Cult? Well, Steve said that in the same footage, the game was still using the original voice actors. Yeah, Steve distinctively remembers hearing Ryan Drummond and David Humphrey still voicing Shadow and Sonic. He also said that he remembered Ryan Drummond saying something like, "Yeah, this game's gonna suck, but hey, Sonic's in it." Pfft, I kind of found that hard to believe, but after seeing this tweet, what a wonderfully honest man. Shame on Sega for firing him. You know what this means? If that E3 footage of Shadow the Hedgehog did exist, then this game probably would have been Dean Bristow's final performance as Dr. Eggman. I mean, could you imagine how much of Eggman's dialogue would Bristow have recorded before dying? It's really interesting. Still, this could have been Dean Bristow's last Eggman portrayal. What do I have to say about that? Thank God it wasn't. This game's a piece of garbage. In terms of both story and gameplay, Shadow the Hedgehog just messes both of them up completely. The story revolves around Shadow, who's still recovering from amnesia. I said before in my Heroes review that it might have been partial amnesia because he still remembered Sonic. And in Shadow that's still the case because he remembers a little bit of Maria.
Maria! Who am I? And why can't I remember anything?
Except, you know, that one very clear thing you can remember. Then all of a sudden, aliens. Yep, aliens just start falling from the sky.
Look how pathetic they are. I don't have time for these humans.
What? Remember when I said in my Adventure 2 review that Shadow was always wrongfully stereotyped as an emo character? Well, that's not the case for this game, so go ahead and make all the overused Linkin Park or Hot Topic jokes you can make. Where's this edgy angst against humans even coming from? He has amnesia! So this alien shows up and tells Shadow to collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds and he'll help him find out more stuff about his past. By the way, this character is Black Doom, and he's voiced by Sean Schemmel of Goku fame. And that's the only appeal this character has. Otherwise, he's a bland and extremely pointless villain that also leads to a lot of frustratingly stupid plot points in this game. So Shadow heads up to find the 7 Dragon Balls, Chaos Emeralds to give to Goku, Black Doom. And that's really it. That's the main plot. The rest is just needless filler that we don't need to hear about or tread. The biggest issue I have with Shadow the Hedgehog's plot is the most obvious problem, the tone. Where Sonic Heroes had a fun and laid-back attitude boosting up its cutscenes, Shadow the Hedgehog is just somber and takes itself way too seriously. The worst part about this game is that it's never self-aware about its tone, and just expects the players to go along with it. I'm sorry, but no, I can't accept this. This game does not need to exist. Nothing interesting is brought up or offered in this game's story, and what it does bring up is quite infuriating. Like I mentioned before, Black Doom is an uninteresting character, but he also brings one of the worst elements to this game's plot. Apparently, Black Doom helped Gerald Robotnik with the creation of Shadow and even used his own DNA to make Shadow more powerful. Does that sound stupid and contrived? Well, guess what? It gets even worse. Apparently, Gerald built the Ark as a defense mechanism against Doom and his army to ward them off, which apparently explains why the Ark had the ability to destroy the Earth, because Gerald was going to use this to stop Black Doom, and he was just misunderstood. But at the same time, he was upset that his granddaughter Maria got shot dead by the military, which was the original reason he built the Ark in the first place. This is so fucking stupid! This game just retcons earlier plot elements and stays very inconsistent with the previous games. It's almost like this is supposed to be a reboot. But no, this is supposed to be a sequel to Adventure 2. And I gotta say, this is a pretty lousy sequel. Aside from all the other Sonic characters being present along with the Ark and Gun, this barely feels like a sequel to Adventure 2. Oh yeah, speaking of Gun, there's a Gun commander who has a vendetta against Shadow. He even blames Shadow for the death of Maria and wants to kill him for it, even though it was the Gun troops who shot Maria, not Shadow. Why would this guy want to be part of the same military that killed his best friend? Why does he even hate Shadow that much? We've never seen this character before. He's so confusing and doesn't need to be here. Fuck this game. Another thing that seriously doesn't help with this game is all the pointless swearing and dialogue.
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald? You're going straight to hell!
Shadow, damn you.
I'm going to destroy this damn planet.
Damn, they got away!
Damn, we've been detected.
What was the point of this? To make this game more mature? Really? Yeah, good job, boys. I'm sure all the people who are 10 and up will love this game. So dumb. The person who wrote the script for this game wasn't Shiro Mikawa, but it was Takashi Iizuka. Yep, the same guy who directed the adventure games and Heroes. So Shadow ended up being the first game he had almost full control over, and it makes me wonder if Takashi even knew what the hell he was doing. Some eyes are just downright idiotic or just plain confusing.
A Chaos Emerald? You've got to be kidding me, guys. This is like taking candy from a baby, which is fine by me.
What? What was that? Was this game trying to be self-aware for a few seconds? This is so fucking stupid!
We're on our way to the Ark, so I guess that means we're going too.
What? What? Was that an error in the script? How'd they miss that? One of my biggest gripes I have with this game is how it effectively got rid of every character's personality in the place of more blander ones. Shadow used to be a deep character. He was the guy on a plan to annihilate Earth by any means to avenge his close friend's death. Then when things turned out to be not the way he thought they were, he immediately wanted to correct things, even if it led to his own death. It made him a special character. Then when he came back in Sonic Heroes, he effectively had no character. But that was expected because he had amnesia and needed to be reminded of who he was. While it seemed like they were heading towards that in Sonic Heroes, I really felt like a lot of stuff got cut out. I feel like all those great moments we could have had with Shadow that Shiro most likely wrote were probably cut out by Iizuka just so he could ruin them in Shadow's own game. Seriously, that's what it feels like. Shadow acts nothing at all like he was presented in Adventure 2, and certainly doesn't act as innocent as he seemed in Heroes. Look, I know why most people mock Shadow just from his appearance alone. The whole concept of him just looks ridiculous. Oh wow, his whole figure is nothing but dark hair. He must be super edgy. He must shop at Hot Topic or something. Haha, this is who I am. What a loser. I'm sorry, but I never got emo out of Shadow's character in Adventure 2. It was easy to label him as that because he hated humans and all, but in SA2 he had an actual reason to hate them. And that plot point wasn't even present in Heroes. You'd probably say, well of course it wasn't. It probably got cut out like you keep saying. Sure, it's plausible, but then again, at the end of SA2, Shadow's attitude towards humans completely changed because he realized he was gravely mistaken about them. I'm not saying Shiro Mikawa was an excellent writer or anything, especially after reading this very negative Tumblr post by Blaze Hedgehog, but I definitely think he knew more about what he was doing than Takashi Iizuka did. For some reason, Izuka wrote Shadow as that edgy, emo stereotype, when it's just not deserved. It kills Shadow's character, and this game just makes it all the more difficult for people like me who defend Shadow's portrayals in previous games. The character I was presented to in Sonic Adventure 2 is not the same character in Shadow the Hedgehog. What makes it even worse is that this was Takashi Iizuka's final Sonic game, just before he was made CEO of Sonic Team. Really? This ended up being the last game you gave us? Thanks, Takashi. Glad to see you knew what you were doing. Shadow the Hedgehog's plot just depresses me. One of the worst aspects is the new voice cast, which... Actually, I'm kinda glad we got new actors in this game, because if I heard Ryan Drummond or David Humphrey say stupid lines like,
Woohoo! Now we're talking! Bring it on!
I am Shadow Android, the ultimate life form, a copy of Shadow the Hedgehog.
I probably would have gotten even more depressed. Also, was Takashi under the impression that now that they're using new actors that all the characters should just act different too? That's really what it feels like. So we're now using the 4Kids actors, and they're all bland, unnatural, and sound nothing at all like the characters should speak. Shadow and Sonic are both being voiced by Jason Griffith, and... Look, I think Jason Griffith is a nice dude. From interviews and live streams, he seems like a really cool guy to hang out with. But I'm just not into his portrayals of Sonic and Shadow. They do fit their personalities, which is being both bland and generic as possible.
Thought you might say something like that. How about a little friendly competition? Once every 50 years, that black comet passes by this planet. Oh.
His Shadow voice is especially lacking. He still talks in whispers and all, but he doesn't sound anywhere near as interesting as Humphrey. And what the hell happened to Shadow's English accent?
That's why you needed the Chaos Emeralds. Who are you, and how do you know I'm Shadow? And what are you talking about? This is who I am!
The rest of the cast is just as bland and generic. Mike Pollock's voice just never screams Eggman for me. Again, sorry.
What?
Dan Green's Knuckles is just gruffer sounding Dan Green.
Hey! Get back here, you creep!
Lisa Ortiz's Amy sounds really peculiar.
What was that? What just happened? I'm sure he's fine, Rouge. After all, he is Shadow.
I can't stand Rouge. Charmy's boring. Espio's forgettable, though he does swear that one time. Vector's new voice is just fucking hysterical. I'd easily say whatever 4Kids actor got the voice Vector in this game, he's probably the worst replacement voice I've ever heard, because holy shit, every line he delivers is just automatically funny. And I'm not just talking about the infamous
Find the computer room!
Every line is just as funny as that one line. The voice is so terrible and sounds nothing at all like Mark Biaggi that every line he says is just automatically funny.
Well, well, if it isn't Shadow, your timing is impeccable. You know that Eggman fella pretty well, don't ya? Well, we need your help to hack into his computer. Don't ask why!
I don't really want to put this much focus on the voice actors in this game, but one last one I'd like to mention is the only kinda decent decision 4Kids made. Tails is now being voiced by Amy Pallett. Yup, 4Kids actually made a pretty smart decision to hire an older actress to emulate a little boy's voice instead of using an actual little kid. Well, kind of. I still don't really like this Tails voice. The problem seems like maybe Amy saw Tails' design and thought, oh, Tails must be a little girl, and auditioned using a little girl voice. But when she got the role and walked into the recording booth, her voice director must have told her, Tails is supposed to sound like a boy. And then she was like, what? And as a result, we have a very unisex sounding Tails, and it's weird.
Look at that! It's Eggman's theme park. He made it out of the rings he's taken from around the world.
Actually, the one voice from this cast that I actually like a lot is Jeff Kramer, who does E123 Omega's voice. Why do I like him? Because he sounds almost exactly like John St. John's Omega voice.
Eradicate all Eggman robots. Eggman, I will defeat you once and for all. Eggman target completely destroyed. Dr. Eggman, I will destroy you and reign supreme.
In fact, the two sound so similar, it's almost like getting rid of John St. John was fucking pointless! Ugh, okay, look. I have nothing against these new voice actors. They're all very talented and obviously have achieved way more in their lives than I have, but I just don't think any of them fit their characters. I have nothing against them personally. They were just actors doing their job and earning a paycheck, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. My main complaint is that the job they were doing was replacing my favorite voice actors! Besides, I'll blame the 4Kids company before I could ever blame their actors. The VAs are the ones with the talent, but 4Kids are the one abusing that talent. They should be ashamed of themselves. I'm actually kinda glad they went out of business. 3 times. Oh, who am I kidding? 4Kids can't fucking die. They'll be back sooner than you think, and that really scares me. They just can't die. Okay, the story's an insult and the voice acting is abysmally different. How are the cutscenes? They're alright. The animation is well done, plus the lip syncing and sound mixing are thankfully decent like it was in Heroes. Unfortunately, Heroes still has the superior cutscenes. Why? Because Heroes' main cutscenes were all done in pre-rendered CGI with very minimal in-game cutscenes. For Shadow, almost all the main cutscenes are done with the in-game graphics, and there's very minimal CG cutscenes. That's pretty unfortunate because the quality of these CG cutscenes look incredibly nice. Just from the changed art style compared to SA1, 2, and Heroes, you could tell that Sega got a different animation team to create these cutscenes, but they're still really gorgeous. There's a lot of great detail in the character models, and the photorealistic worlds look pretty neat, if kind of out of place. The story these CG cutscenes are forced to animate are still pretty garbage, but they still look very nice. The in-game cutscenes, which you see all throughout the game, are okay. The scenarios are still shit and the character models are bizarrely out of place with all the darker areas and worlds that Shadow takes place in. They're very clearly the same character models from Sonic Heroes, which makes these cutscenes look really cheap a lot of the time. It would have been better if they maybe used newer models just for this game, or maybe even used the previous models from SA2. You know, the ones that don't look ridiculously shiny. To be honest, it just makes the cutscenes look even more stupid. Not that the shitty graphics need to express how terrible these cutscenes are. The shitty writing already gets the job done. I shit you not, the quick in-game cutscenes from Sonic Heroes were way better than any of this game's in-game cutscenes. Okay, so what was the point of this game's stupid plot? Well, this leads to how the levels are laid out. Instead of having one clear story mode where you play through all the levels in one go, Shadow the Hedgehog introduces a new morality system, which leads to the levels being on separate pathways based off what mission you have to do in a specific level. Yeah, missions. During the game, you could either bump into a recognizable character for a hero mission, or bump into Black Doom's eye for a dark mission, or just ignore both missions to do the neutral mission, which usually involves just heading to the goal ring at the end of the level. Going back to the way the levels are laid out on the level select, if you do a neutral mission, you progress towards the level on the right. If you do a hero mission, you'll go to the level on the bottom right. If you do a dark mission, you'll go to the level on the top right. For a morality system, it's technically well implemented. It's just a shame all the hero and dark missions are the Chaotix missions from Sonic Heroes. Now, I didn't hate Team Chaotix, but their missions always felt like a chore to play through. Bringing them back fixes nothing. Almost every hero and dark mission involves locating or killing a specific number of enemies, and all of them feel like a chore. But I'll get more into that later. You can recheck the mission you're doing by looking at the pause menu. One feature that I like is that you can switch missions on a dime by using the D-pad. Yeah, this thing finally gets the spotlight. You can switch to the hero mission by pressing left, switch to the dark mission by pressing right, or shut both of them off to do the neutral mission by pressing down. It's a good feature that I very much welcome, but certain spots of the levels you'll bump to either the Doom Eye or a hero character again, then you'll automatically switch to the hero or dark mission, leading you to press down on the D-pad again to switch back to the neutral mission. It's a bit irritating. Clearly the only character you can play as is Shadow, and so far you'd think this is just a straightforward Sonic Adventure-esque platformer. No, not really. It really doesn't play much like the adventure games. Aside from making me wish I was just playing the adventure games, Shadow the Hedgehog is still using the renderware engine, which means his gameplay is just a speed character from Sonic Heroes, and all the problems from Heroes rears its ugly head in this ugly game. First off, Shadow moves way too fucking fast. Somehow the adventure games just got balanced speed and smooth controls done so right. Heroes was doing its own thing, so the speed character being much quicker was a bit of a pain to get used to, but it was still adjustable. Shadow, on the other hand, has no reason to be this difficult to control. In fact, I think he controls even worse than the speed character controlled in Heroes. It doesn't just feel like they copied and pasted the speed character gameplay for Shadow. It also seems like some game dev must have went, hey, Shadow has small boosters on its shoes, so maybe it'd be a pretty nice detail if he slid around while running or turning. No, it is not a neat effect. Shadow's feet are so damn slippery, it makes platforming a nervous wreck for no reason. I mean, you just go back to SA2 and Shadow controlled so perfectly, and his levels are just way more fun to traverse through. So aside from Shadow's acceleration being shot through the roof, he's got a few other abilities. He's got the homing attack from the adventure games, though it could be a bit finicky, and don't be surprised if you end up shooting yourself in a bottomless pit. Oh yeah, every time Shadow gets hit, he says, and every time he falls in a bottomless pit, he goes,
Damn, not here.
Thank you, Sonic Team. Those details were very necessary. I think Jason Griffith said it best.
With the whole thing about Shadow, it just feels kind of pandering too much to try and seem like this game. This isn't your father's Sonic. It's your Shadow, damn it, type of thing. So yeah,
it's not that really good Sonic that your father played.
The Rocket XL from Sonic Heroes was thankfully abandoned, and returning from the adventure games is the also lovable Spin Dash. And it's nowhere near as useful as it was in the adventure games or even in the Genesis games. I rarely ever use a Spin Dash in this game, and that kinda saddens me. Two abilities Shadow has in this game are two Chaos Powers. At both the top right and top left sides of the screen are two separate bars. The left bar can be filled up by killing a bunch of Black Doom's aliens. This fills the blue bar up, and when it's activated, Shadow will start glowing blue. Then you can press Y to perform Chaos Control, which allows Shadow to skip huge parts of the level. You could fill up the right bar by killing a bunch of soldiers or people on the hero side. Once the red bar is filled up all the way, Shadow will glow red, and by pressing Y, you can make him perform the Chaos Blast, which could kill even more enemies and make Shadow invulnerable too. Shadow can also perform the Light Dash, except he could use it by pressing the X button as opposed to the B button, which I don't mind. The Light Dash is actually better programmed in this game than any of the other previous games, which is cool and all, just too bad the rest of this game is a piece of shit. I'll give credit where credit is due, at least. One new ability Shadow has are combat moves that you can perform by pressing the B button, and they suck. They've got terrible range, and since the enemies are still rocking health bars, it could take forever to kill them. Stick with using the homing attack and the other means for killing enemies. Well, I've been avoiding this topic for long enough, but yeah, Shadow's main gimmick. If you couldn't tell from the game's cover or any of the gameplay footage I've been showing you so far, just what exactly is this game's gimmick?
Guns.
Yep. One of this game's main selling points, I'm not even joking about that, was that Shadow the Hedgehog is essentially packing heat. He's got a large array of weapons you could collect after defeating enemies. You can pick them up by just walking over them, and you could use them by pressing the B button. Oh boy, where do I fucking start? Okay, fine. One compliment I will make is that the guns and combat weapons are pretty optional. There are parts of levels where you need a gun to shoot something in order to solve a puzzle for level progression, but about 85% of the time you could just stick with jumping on enemies or using the homing attack. Even then, the enemies do have health bars, so you'll end up spamming the homing attack a bunch of times, so using the guns can make killing enemies faster. The guns are the central focus in this game, and that severely bothers me. However, they're well implemented, and you can drop weapons by pressing the X button. Plus, if you fill up either the red or blue bars, once Shadow is glowing, he has unlimited ammo, which is actually pretty nice. Still, I don't like having a decent character use guns when he doesn't need them. It's so pointless. Apparently Takashi Iizuka and even Yuji Naka said the reason they gave Shadow guns was because they received a lot of fan mail requesting a game where Sonic used a gun. So they decided to give Shadow a gun because seeing Sonic with a gun is just ludicrous and would ruin his character. But Shadow with a gun? Sure, that's cool. Also, I'm going to assume the fan mail they were receiving were written by fans who were probably too young to be sending fan mail. This is one of the stupidest decisions I've ever seen in a Sonic game. Aside from the fact that no matter what Takashi Iizuka may say, it does not fit for Shadow to have a gun, no matter how many emo references you could label on him. But they've already found a way to include a character in a Sonic game that could shoot things. Just what character was that? Gamma. In fact, the point of Gamma's existence at the time was that even back then, fans wanted to see a Sonic game where they could have a character shooting things. Gamma was a great compromise. Sonic could still play like normal and Gamma could be there to shoot things. Yet they gave Shadow a gun for almost no goddamn reason. Why? Why does Shadow need a gun? He's already powerful enough and even has chaos abilities. This is so fucking stupid! How many times am I gonna say that in this review? They could have spent more time making his gameplay more smoother to control, improve the spin dash, and maybe even give him even more chaos abilities. Hell, you want to play as a character that could shoot stuff? Then make Omega a playable character. Seriously, how awesome would it have been to see Omega as an unlockable character who could shoot things? Plus, instead of giving Shadow crappy combat controls, make Rouge playable. Bring back her karate from Adventure 2. She would have been a great combat character. Plus, she has the ability to fly. Or glide, at least. This game could have made great compromises if Omega and Rouge were playable. Heck, it could have been a cool Team Dark game, but no! Shadow has to be the main focus. Therefore, Shadow's gotta have guns, and he's gotta have lame punch abilities and stuff. What a waste! So how are the levels? Believe it or not, for the first time ever in a Sonic game, they're unappealing. One of the reasons why I feel this way about the levels is because of this game's art style. It has no appeal. All the levels just sort of blend in together and they all feel like a chore to get through. Another one of the biggest issues I have with this game is a problem a lot of people have that comes back from Sonic Heroes. The levels can go on forever. What helped for Sonic Heroes was that their levels were so colorful and were worth going back to. They never felt sleep-inducing to play through. For Shadow, every goddamn level is the same purple, brown, or gray colors. Some level layouts repeat each other, and some themes like Hang Castle and Mystic Mansion from Sonic Heroes are brought back, but their colors are so muted that they look so unrecognizable and dull. I didn't do a level rundown in Heroes, and I'm definitely not doing one for Shadow because it seriously isn't worth it. None of the levels in this game are that fun to play through, and having to do separate missions in them are even more time consuming. What also doesn't help is this game's soundtrack, which is just as unappealing and forgettable. I can't remember a single level tune, and almost all of them are the same generic rock, and it almost sounds insulting to listen to. What's weird is that the sound director for this game was still Jun Sano, who was the sound director for the previous 3D titles. I guess he was told to be as generic and edgy as possible, and he delivered pretty well. If it wasn't for Sonic 4, I'd easily consider this one of Jun Sano's weakest soundtracks. Seriously, you've done so much better than this, Jun. You really let me down. Well, for level tunes at least. I can only really count just one level that I can remember the most, which is Digital Circuit's theme. Digital Circuit as a level stands out mainly because it's got more than 3 colors in it, and the level itself has a pretty catchy theme song. It's a bit repetitive, which kinda makes it catchy in a sense. It's a bit more techno sounding, and it's much faster paced and actually sounds like it had actual effort put into it. The vocal themes are also pretty underwhelming. Chosen One by A2 is pretty forgettable, and Almost Dead by Power Man 5000 is just god-awful. Then there's Waking Up, which was performed by Julian K, who also performed This Machine from Sonic Heroes. Thankfully, Julian K has one of the better vocal themes. It matches the style of This Machine pretty well, and it sounds great.
Waking up, breaking out, this is what it's like to be free. Rip it up, tear it down. Is what it means to be free.
There's also a remix of Dr. Eggman's theme song from SA2 done by the Remix Factory. This version's even called the Doc Robotnik mix, and it's not bad. Then there are 2 new songs by Crush 40, and they're easily the best parts of this game's soundtrack. There's I Am, which you hear at the beginning of the game, and it's actually a pretty decent song even though I hate what it stands for, which is this game. Then there's Never Turn Back, which you hear at the very end of the game. To quote Some Call Me Johnny, it's the best song in the game, bar none. Kind of a shame this great song was made for a really stupid video game. So the soundtrack is underwhelming, just like the game. Despite one decent level tune and a few good vocal themes, this is a severe step down from the last 3 game soundtracks. I kinda wanna just wrap things up because I already tossed this game in the garbage about halfway through writing this review. So the boss battles are kind of meh. You end up fighting a few of them more than once, and there's even one where Eggman reuses that ball-shaped mech from Sonic Heroes, that you of course fight more than once. Though there's this one bit where you could just keep shooting at it with a torrent and you'll finish the boss in like 10 seconds. I learned that from the awesome Game Stun quick playthrough from 2013. Thanks guys, you're awesome.
I get mad looking at that. That is not a boss!
You're probably wondering what you'll unlock once you beat the game 100%. Well, you get a super hard mode. Yeah, just like in Sonic Heroes. It's nothing special, you just play through all the levels and you could even hear some dialogue from characters that imply that the super hard mode takes place after the plot of this game. Too bad I don't really give a shit. Oh yeah, this game has multiplayer! Remember how awesome the last 2 games handled multiplayer? It gave you a wide selection of levels and characters. It just gave you so much reason to go back to it again and again, leading to hours of fun to be had. What does this game's multiplayer have to offer? Well, you can play as Shadow and a Shadow recolor. Then there's Metal Shadow and like several other Metal Shadow recolors. So you couldn't let Sonic & Company be playable here either? Cool. Well, remember all the levels you could play through in Adventure 2 and even Heroes? Well, in Shadow you get 3. Just 3 levels. Awesome. I shit you not, it only took me like 3 minutes to record this game's multiplayer. I recalled Sonic Adventure 2 took an hour and a half, and even Sonic Heroes took 40 to 50 minutes to record all the multiplayer footage. I know I edited them down for a short subject in those videos, but still, a multiplayer should not take just 3 minutes to record. So yeah, this game has a very lackluster multiplayer. Let's just end this review already. Okay, so what's the point of the morality system? It's just another obvious gimmick that Shadow the Hedgehog has, and basically depends on what mission you do or don't do. This can lead to you having 10 different endings to see. In order to unlock all 10 endings, you'll have to do a complete playthrough of this game 10 fucking times. Yes, 10. That's even worse than Sonic Heroes. I'm sorry, but I have zero interest in doing that. None of the levels are interesting to play through, and playing this game 10 goddamn times is something I never want to do ever. So forget it. I just copied a 100% save file off GameFAQs again, just so I wouldn't waste my time playing this piece of shit. Yeah, I cheated again. Instead of playing through the game 10 times, I just used the 100% save file and recorded myself playing through each individual level, usually doing the neutral mission that involved reaching the goal ring at the end of the level. Even then, the game tried to force me to do some missions that didn't involve getting to the goal ring, so I usually just gave up on those levels halfway through trying to complete it. I'm not interested in shooting aliens or killing gun troops just to reach the other endings. I just want to play this game like a normal video game. I'm also not a fan of how you'd have to end up doing the same missions over and over again. This game's repetitive and boring as it already is. I'm not wasting my time with this bullshit.
You're unreliable.
Shut up, you worthless piece of shit. Even then, unlocking all 10 endings is not worth it. All of them are terrible. They're just as badly written as the rest of the game's cutscenes, and too many of them seem way too similar. About 4 of them involve Shadow karate chopping Eggman to death.
What? Goodbye, Doctor.
And a lot of them just make Shadow look so pathetic. It's embarrassing to think Azuka is trying to make this seem like the same Shadow from SA2 and Heroes, when he so obviously isn't. Though I will admit, I do like how one of the endings includes Vector, mainly because of how hilariously bad his voice is. I also love how the ending he gets is the one where Shadow just gives up on living altogether.
I've caused so much destruction. I should never have been created. This is who I am.
Hey, don't go there! Yet, things may not be what they seem. You could be.
How can you not feel immediately better after hearing this stupid crocodile talk? Actually, one severely missed opportunity is that there's not an ending where Shadow sides with Eggman. Really? How many Eggman fans were disappointed that they played through all 10 endings, only to not see Shadow be on Eggman's side for any of them? But he sure killed Eggman a bunch of times. So if for whatever reason, you're probably wondering just what ending is supposed to be the true ending, which of the 10 endings are meant to be truly canon with the series? None of them. None of the 10 endings are canonical with the series. Why? Well, is it because Sega saw how fucking idiotic this game was and basically told fans that this game doesn't matter and that it should just automatically not count? No, that would be actually kinda smart. Instead, when you manage to get all 10 endings for this game, you unlock a last story segment, which includes the only ending that's actually important, making the rest of the endings completely pointless. What the fuck? What was the point of making us play through this game 10 times to get every ending, just to flat out tell us none of them are important? This game effectively wasted your time, and I feel so bad for the fans who actually played through this game completely just to see that it was all a waste. There was no point at all for the morality system to exist. God, such a stupid video game. And even then, the last story sucks as well. This shows Shadow had collected all 7 Chaos Emeralds as Black Doom asked him to do at the beginning of the game. That's the only part of the game's plot that matters. Just the first cutscene. Nothing else. Fuck you, game. So Shadow almost gives Black Doom the Chaos Emeralds, but the other characters come by and let Shadow know that Black Doom plans on using the Chaos Emeralds to take over the world.
Of course!
Holy shit, I would have never known that. I thought Goku was one of the good guys. Thanks a lot, Sean Chamel. Anyways, Black Doom tells Shadow that he's his father or something. Shadow's just like, I'm gonna stop you once and for all. You know that bullshit. And then Shadow goes through a really boring final level, where you just gotta use the Chaos Control a bunch of times to reach the ending. Ugh. So I guess Shadow is just a good guy now? So the whole hero or renegade part of the game was just abandoned. Oh well, not that that was the main selling point of this whole fucking game! So Shadow catches up with Black Doom and he's just like, I'm gonna kill you, and Black Doom says, no, fuck off. Then Shadow goes super to stop Black Doom, and I actually really like the music that plays during this cutscene. It plays a quick riff from I Am, but then it transitions into a very familiar song. Nice touch. If only the rest of the soundtrack had this much effort put into it, June. Alright, so the final boss. By the way, Black Doom is just this bland devil monster. He doesn't get a transformation sequence or anything. He just kind of is this thing. Okay then. So you just shoot some stuff at Black Doom's eyes, and that's it. Once you know what you're doing, it's painfully easy. It's alright, and ironically, it's the best part of this game, mainly because I get the feeling that the game's almost fucking over. One very weird thing is that there's actually a plot element hidden inside this boss battle, just like Sonic Adventure 2, except even worse. You get a call from Dr. Eggman on a walkie-talkie that basically tells Shadow information we already know, which is that the Shadow in this game is the exact same Shadow from Sonic Adventure 2, even though he acts nothing like it. But the thing is, to hear Eggman tell Shadow this information, you have to drag through this boss battle for 8.5 minutes. Is it really that much worth it? I tried to get Eggman to say that, but I kept running out of rings and dying. So yeah, here's some footage I took from someone else of Eggman saying that.
Adam, can you hear me? This might be the last chance I have to speak to you, so what I said about having created you, it was all a lie. Everyone thought you died during that horrible incident. But I rescued you with one of my robots. You lost your memory, that's all. You really are the ultimate life form my grandfather created.
Thanks for nothing, Doctor. Oh yeah, and the theme song for this boss battle is Crush 40's song I Am, which plays all throughout it. Cool. I see no, hear no, if... Why am I bothering? I already sung this song at the intro. This game doesn't deserve my awful singing. Fuck it. So, Shadow defeats Black Doom, and I really like how pretty the CG cutscenes look in this game. Just the same they're being used for animating a piece of garbage. Then everyone's happy. The military and the president, oh yeah, I forgot to mention him, say they'll celebrate Joe Robotnik's creation even though he tried obliterating all of them in Adventure 2. But whatever, go ahead and celebrate the man who tried to kill all of you. I'm not even joking, this is the actual dialogue in this game.
After the way we all treated him, he saved us all in the end. We were all wrong about the professor.
Fuck this game. Then there's one final cutscene showing Shadow aboard the Ark, and...
Goodbye forever, Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh, fuck you, game! Don't try to make a callback to a much better video game. And don't act like you just ended a game that had a super submissive plot. Because it didn't. It did nothing to inform me on anything, and all it really did was shit all over a perfectly decent character for almost no reason, too. And it just so happened to be one of my favorite characters. So yeah, Shadow wants to forget about his past and move on with his life. Cool. But wait! What about this line from Sonic Adventure 2?
Even if my memories are not real, it's still me, Shadow, and I will fulfill my promise to Maria. That's the only thing that matters to me now.
And heroes.
You'll regret this, Doctor. Even if I'm not real, I'm still the ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog.
So even in previous games, Shadow could care less about his past? Yeah. Fuck this game. It was so pointless. It just didn't need to be made. Playing through and looking at older games just makes it more apparent just how wrong and downright inappropriate Shadow the Hedgehog is. Some fans have tried to defend this game by saying, "Oh, stop complaining. It's not a Sonic game. It's a Shadow game. It's different. It's edgy. It's Shadow. He's dark and edgy. The ambivalence between good and evil." No, this is not a Sonic or a Shadow game. A Shadow game for me is just him being a copy of Sonic like in Adventure 2. The story itself should make it Shadow's own game, but the story sucks because it misunderstands so much about the previous games. It feels like it was written by someone who never even played the previous games, and the fact that it's written by the guy who apparently directed the last 3 games just baffles me. Why? Why does Shadow have to be this way? Why does he have to be this edgelord and boring character? Because he looks like one? Fuck off. He acted nothing like this in Adventure 2. You're probably thinking, yeah, but he got amnesia and stuff, so he's not the same character anymore. Even better, in Sonic Heroes, he also acted nothing like he did in this game, and he had amnesia then as well. The game doesn't bother explaining that at all. Instead, it just makes Shadow seem like some unsympathetic jackass. His personality is just needlessly made different, along with all the other characters. I sound like a broken record, but this game is so fucking stupid. It has no idea what it's trying to do, it takes itself too damn seriously, the soundtrack is forgettable, the art style is sleep-inducing, the voice acting is mediocre, and most importantly, this game is not special in the slightest. It's just not fun to play. If you like this game, then, well, good for you. Just understand that I can't see what drags you into this boring mess of the game. When the story isn't pissing me right the fuck off, the gameplay is putting me to sleep. Look, it's a perfectly functional and almost non-glitchy game, but the way it's structured and the way the story plays out is just uninspired. This game isn't worth playing through 10 fucking times. Hell, this game isn't even worth $10 fucking dollars. Don't play this game. I'm kinda grateful that Sonic 3D Blast ended up being my first Sonic game. For the longest time I thought it was Shadow, but it wasn't. So relieved. This game is not special to me in any way. There's nothing redeemable about it, and I want it out of my goddamn house. 3 out of 10. That wasn't a skit. I actually tossed the game in the fucking garbage. What's the next game on the list? Fuck. You know what game it is. And I'm not looking forward to it. So, come back next time on Cooper's Perspective when I look at Sonic's 15th anniversary title, which doesn't need any introduction. See yous.
Sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog.